You're watching WUFT TV News.
Hello and welcome to Blair's Investigative Show. Over the next 10 minutes, you'll see WUFT's investigations on many different subjects. I'm Leanna Scacchetti.
And I'm Michael Higdon. We start with a story about energy drinks, the beverage that many college students frequently use to keep their eyes open. However, these addicting drinks may not be all they're cracked up to be. WUFT's Rachel Stern has more.
Energy drinks are commonly used by those who need to stay awake for longer periods of time. University of Florida graduate student Nicola Haas used to drink them as part of her daily routine during her undergrad years.
It was probably maybe like 2 or 3 on a normal day and like around 5 when I had to stay up.
The large and unhealthy amount of caffeine in the drinks allow the consumer to delay their time wanting to go to sleep.
Caffeine is actually an adenosine antagonist, and some people think that the buildup of adenosine in the brain, a byproduct of normal metabolism, is what makes you sleepy. And so using a caffeinated beverage or caffeine helps sort of reverse that effect.
1 can of soda, such as this Dr. Pepper, has an average of 40 milligrams of caffeine in it. Now, an energy drink, on the other hand, such as this Monster, over 140 milligrams of caffeine. That's almost 4 times as much. Drinking energy drinks not only affects your sleeping habits, but it also affects your health in the long run.
There are real negative effects with the high doses of caffeine causing cardiovascular events and even death from heart attacks in teenagers and young adults.
Though many professionals view the high amount of caffeine as dangerous, some don't agree.
Actually, I'm a proponent of caffeine pre-workout because it increases training drive and increases energy, obviously.
Mr. White adds that caffeine increases your adrenaline, which gives you a larger stimulating effect from your workout. But is that enough to make it worth it?
With respect to, let's say, physical performance, there's very little evidence that anything in energy drinks beyond caffeine does you any bit of good.
The American Beverage Association claims that most energy drinks contain significantly less caffeine than a similarly sized coffee. The Caffeine Informer argues that drinking the many different types of energy drinks can cause numerous negative effects.
Do you drink them knowing how bad they are for your health?
Yeah, figured the whole, sleep when you're dead, sleep is for the weak.
She learned just how toxic energy drinks could be one night after drinking different brands.
I spent the night just throwing it up, it was not a good combination.
Instead of relying on energy drinks, it may just be as easy as eating healthy and getting a good night's sleep.
The processes that happen during sleep are actually important to restore the brain. Taking energy drinks instead of sleeping doesn't restore those processes, it just helps you keep your eyeballs open.
It's best to eat a healthy diet of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, nuts and seeds. That's the best way to get your nutrients. You're not going to get your nutrients from an energy drink. It's just not the best way to do it.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration does not currently regulate caffeine content in energy drinks because they are marketed as supplements. However, many groups today are now advocating for the FDA to reconsider.
The 2014 Gator Nationals brought thousands of fans out to Auto Plus Raceway, and it also brought super fast cars. WUFT's Hannah Olivito tells us more about a safety feature some drivers add to their cars.
Top Fuel dragsters are the fastest accelerating vehicle in the world, and without a doubt some of the most dangerous cars to drive here at Gator Nationals. But what is in question is the safest way to drive them down the raceway. Top Fuel star Antron Brown knows all too well the dangers of his sport. In 2013, Brown's car exploded at the NHRA Winter Nationals, sending him spinning and sliding down the track. Thankfully, Brown was able to walk away from the massive wreck, and perhaps that was due to the new canopy he had installed on his car.
It might be a different story. I might be standing here, but I could have a lot more different things happen to me where I wouldn't be able to come back and race the next weekend where I could have been injured enough.
The NHRA approved the new Top Fuel safety feature only months before Brown's crash and laid out the official rules to use the canopy. It was built for safety, not aerodynamics. The canopy adds weight and requires a complete overhaul of the car's cockpit. Not all Top Fuel drivers choose to use it, even drivers people might think have experienced enough to want to.
And yes, we've had an incident, thankfully. You know, I was next to Antron when he had that. You know, when I watched it, you know, when I drove around his parts coming off that car. So, you know, we just got to evaluate. It's like anything, you know, you don't make decisions, you know, based on instant results. You know, you evaluate a whole program.
Every driver has a strong opinion about the canopy and the safest way to drive their car. Even longtime fans of the sport know exactly how they feel.
Although with the canopy, you're kind of trapped in there. Still, I think it's safer because nothing can, no piece of metal or a bolt or piece of shrapnel or anything can go flying into the driver's face.
Rubnick believes by using harnesses to strap in and protecting the engine, there is a good chance that everything will be fine and the hassle of installing the canopy is not necessary.
The center of the car has to arch up. When the two wings come into effect, the center of that car arches up. So we don't need to be putting any more weight in there and not having that chassis arch up, because that's a suspension. That's what loads the rear tire. So there's a lot of things have to be considered here.
The thing about it is you overcome weight by just working on other areas of the car to make the weight off of it, and then there's a clean slate, but now you're driving a car that's just as fast and safer than, way safer than what the other cars are, because they're running the skin, and we have a double skin on the inside with padding, and we're not running that convertible cockpit. And trust me, that's my choice. This is what I choose.
So far, the NHRA has no plans to require drivers to use the canopy. From Auto Plus Raceway, Hannah Olivito, WUFT News.
And you can watch Antron Brown and other Top Fuel drivers and their upcoming competitions.
Coming up after the break, we'll tell you one subject that's been a hot topic in Gainesville and how the City Commission is choosing to spend taxpayer dollars.
Plus, medical marijuana is coming up on the November ballot in Florida. We'll tell you the pros and cons of using the drug.
Now there's another way for you to support Florida's 5 WUFT TV with our vehicle donation program. Donate your used vehicle by calling 888-983-8227 or visit us online at WUFT.org.
You are in at the beginning of something amazing.
Whoa! Merry Christmas!
Hi, neighbor! She can dream of having a different life.
WUFT TV News.
Welcome back. Making financial decisions for a city and county comes with the job of being a commissioner. Earlier this week, I took a look at one subject that's gaining speed. Alachua County Commissioners have decided to put an initiative on the November ballot that would fund road improvement and transportation projects. This 1-cent tax would last over 8 years, but what most people are concerned about is how much of the money from that tax will actually be going toward the transportation system.
I think that the bus system does need to get revamped. There's a whole bunch of stuff that it's a great system, but there's a bunch of things that do need to get fixed.
Public transportation, a service many people rely on. But with any resource that's used by many people, improvements are often needed. Alachua County officials and Gainesville officials are working closely to come up with a proposal of what projects the 1-cent proposed surtax will fund.
As far as the county is concerned, it's going to go, the vast majority of it's going to go just to redoing our roads, redoing the resurfacing and whatnot.
But the biggest controversy is how much the transportation system revamping will cost.
There's still a proposal to fund a bus rapid transit option that just would be so grossly disproportionate to the other transit alternatives that a lot of people believe it would pretty much kill any chance the surtax has of passing.
There are many options being discussed about what to add or redo within the bus system. There is a potential to add dedicated street lanes for the buses, and say you're trying to catch the bus while it's raining, well, adding covered areas to all bus stops is on the table as well.
Before I used to live on campus, so it wasn't that necessary, but now I think for off-campus students it would help a lot. Sometimes we have to wait in the rain for the bus, sometimes we don't know exactly where the bus is coming.
Making bus lanes, I think that's kind of a waste of money because you can't stop traffic.
There is another option being explored called the transportation system management.
We actually have some pretty good alternatives by enhancing our existing service. You know, we have an existing transit service that we brag about all around the state. It carries close to 11 million riders a year, and what we could do with a surtax option is enhance many of the existing routes. In fact, for less than a fraction of what the bus rapid transit costs, we could enhance 15 existing routes. We could also fund 7 brand new transit routes. So to me, that would be a better way to bring forward a project list that would include money to maintain and pave our roads, as well as having some options for transit.
County and city officials say they will have their proposed list finalized by no later than June, but the vote will ultimately come down to Alachua County residents on the November ballot. County and city officials are continually discussing this subject, and if you'd like to learn more, you can visit the City of Gainesville's website.
The legalization of medical marijuana in Florida has been a hot topic for the last few months, and as WUFT's Lisa Greenberg reports, there are still many unanswered questions.
Imagine instead of going to your local pharmacy for pain medication, you went to your local dispensary for medical marijuana. That very well could be the case after November's election, when medical marijuana's approval is up to the people.
She was such a trooper.
To Michaela Ringerson, her mom Suzanne is a hero, and now her guardian angel.
She was diagnosed with multiple myeloma in November of 2009. They gave her like 3 to 6 months, and she passed away in August of 2011. She was just a fighter. She had me and my brother to fight for, and I just don't know how she did it.
Throughout her 2 years with cancer, Suzanne was in a lot of pain. One thing Michaela says would have helped: medical marijuana.
It frustrated her going to chemo appointments just because of politics, just because it's illegal. Yeah, it will benefit you, but because there's a law that says it's illegal, you can't have it.
Michaela says she could benefit from it too. She has fibromyalgia, a chronic disorder that causes muscular pain. And after a proposal to legalize medical marijuana hits the ballot in November, Michaela may get the help she always wished her mother could have had. University of Florida pharmacy professor Paul Doring says marijuana could help people like Michaela and her mom.
It probably does work by giving a person a sense of well-being, a sense of escape from the pain and the suffering.
But Dr. Scott Teitelbaum of Florida Recovery Center says medical marijuana's approval isn't black or white.
There's 2 things about medications that we don't do. We don't smoke them, we don't vote on them.
There's more to the debate than the health risks and benefits. Both medical professionals that I spoke with feared that if medical marijuana were approved, it would become more widely available for the general public.
Underage drinking is the greatest model for it. What 19 or 18-year-old University of Florida student can't get alcohol if he or she wants it? To think that this will be confined only to those patients who need it is very, very naive.
In states where medical marijuana is legal, Doring says it's not hard for people to get their hands on.
You can get a license for your so-called medical marijuana for a $35 office visit.
Though it hasn't been determined just how medical marijuana would be regulated in Florida, California residents receive their marijuana through dispensaries after it's recommended by a doctor, not prescribed. Roughly 1 in 10 people that smoke marijuana become addicted to it.
Initiation is inversely proportional to perceived danger. So if something's a medicine and it's legal, you're going to have more younger people smoking with problems.
And while marijuana may be addicting,
Oxycodone.
So are the painkillers Michaela is prescribed.
I refuse to take painkillers, so I'm always in pain. The side effects far outweigh the benefits, and I don't want to be addicted.
Still, the decision is up to Florida voters in November. The proposed amendment needs 60% of Florida voters' approval to pass. Reporting live in Gainesville, Lisa Greenberg, WUFT News.
To learn more about both the risks and benefits of medical marijuana, you can visit www.medicalmarijuana.procon.org. And thank you so much for joining us. That's our show.
Coming up right after this, more looks into controversial topics by WUFT's investigative class. Have a good night.